Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Philip Zhao, and I'm joined with
Eric Ye.
And today we're talking about the new free agent signings all across the league. And in case if you missed our last episode, which was about the NFL Top 100, we talked about which rankings were higher than we thought, which rankings were underrated, and who got absolutely just disrespected. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet, be sure to go back to the first episode.
Okay, so let's start off with some news around the league first. First thing is the Buffalo Bills have extended head coach Sean McDermott to a multi-year contract extension. This deal will be 6 years, and Sean McDermott will be the coach for the Bills through the 2025 season. So, Phil, what do you think about this extension?
Well, I've always been a huge fan of Sean McDermott. I mean, he's a defensive-minded coach. I feel like that fits the Bills really well. And if you look at PFF's grades in the past couple of years, the 3 years that Sean McDermott has been there, I believe, they've gone something like 14th and then 4th and then 2nd in defensive efficiency. So you could see there's an improvement. You can't improve much more from 2nd, but the impact that he's had on that defense is it's insane. I'm just going to put it that way. And at the same time, he came into a situation that was not the greatest. They had Nathan Peterman starting at quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't really blame him for his first-year failures. And then he drafted Josh Allen. And look what Josh Allen has become. He's developed. He's developed into a legitimate threat. He brought the Bills to the playoffs last year.
And he brought him twice, actually. The past 2 years, the Bills have gone to the playoffs.
Yeah, twice. My bad. Speaking of this first time they went to the playoffs, that was led by Tyrod Taylor, right? The ex-Raven. And I feel like Sean McDermott really, he's just the perfect fit for the Buffalo Bills. They have Josh Allen as quarterback. They need a spread-like offense. And that's what they ran with Tyrod Taylor and Greg Roman. So I feel like that is the perfect situation for Josh Allen to excel. The perfect setting.
Yeah, I would completely agree that this extension was a great idea by the Bills, not only for Josh Allen, but I really do think that the Bills are going to win the AFC East this year. Josh Allen even got Stephon Diggs on the team, so the Bills are going to be a threat for sure.
Though I do have questions about that 3-year, $60 million extension that Dion Dawkins got yesterday, as of recording this podcast. I feel like he kind of got overpaid, but at the same time, I get they're trying to protect Josh Allen. It's kind of the same thing with DJ Humphries down in Arizona. He got that massive 3-year, $30-something million deal, and he's just been an average tackle at best.
Yeah.
So speaking of new contracts, let's talk about how the Titans absolutely just cashed in this past week.
Yes, they did. They did. The Kansas City Chiefs extended Travis Kelce, and the San Francisco 49ers extended George Kittle. The Chiefs extended Kelce with a 4-year, $57 million extension. The 49ers extended Kittle to a 5-year, $75 million extension. So, Philip, exactly right. They cashed in.
Yeah, it's averaging around $15 million a year. Kittle's getting paid slightly more than Kelce, and also he's being kept around. But that's because Kelce's 30 already. But who do you think is better? There's always a debate about who the best tight end in the league is.
Yeah.
Who do you think is better, Kelce or Kittle? Because I've seen so much toxicity online between Niners and Chiefs fans about this. What's your thoughts about this?
Well, so right away, when you put out George Kittle's name and Travis Kelce's name, I'm putting them in the top three tight ends.
Right, and who's the other tight end in the top 3?
That one, at least for last season, I think Mark Andrews is up there, and he's definitely not number 1 or 2, so he'll probably at 3. I think Mark Andrews played really well last year. And in terms of who's better between George Kittle and Travis Kelce, I'm going to say George Kittle. And here are my reasons, right? They're both really great for the catching game. But I think Kittle's blocking is better than Kelce. I remember in the game against the Ravens, I think he only got 2 catches because we were really locking down on him because all season long he's been a threat. But he really helped out Raheem Mostert in the running game. And I just think he's such a good dual player, not only for catching and blocking. And then it's just opinion, but I like George Kittle's personality better than Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on this one. I think Kittle is better than Kelce. Think about it. Kelsey has all these weapons. He has arguably the best wide receiver core, taking the defense,
Oh yeah.
attention away from him. They have Tyreek. They have, what is it called? The Legion of Zoom. They're all fast,
the Legion of Zoom,
fast as hell. So defenses have to pay attention to that. Meanwhile, Kittle, he has last season a 33-year-old Emmanuel Sanders, Debo Samuel, and then Dante Pettis maybe, and he kind of flopped. But like, I would say Kittle is much more valuable to the team compared to Kelsey.
My favorite moment of George Kittle, not on the field, was in the locker room when he goes, "Can you smell what the Niners are cooking?" I thought that was hilarious.
Kyle Shanahan's always cooking something up. So I just want to move on to it was kind of under the radar, but it's a small contract. It's a 1-year, $6 million deal for Everson Griffin, the former Viking, to the Cowboys. So how do you feel about this one?
I think it was a good signing for the Cowboys.
Okay.
I think it was a good signing for the Cowboys. I mean, Everson Griffin, I felt that he was very good on the Vikings, and I think the Cowboys could definitely benefit with him on defensive end.
I have to say, I keep picking this dude up from my free agent signings in Madden 20. This dude is always available. Everson Griffin is old now, but at the same time, I feel like he could take that veteran leadership role on the defensive line, kind of like what Michael Bennett did with the Cowboys last year. And honestly, hear me out. I think the Cowboys are going to do very well this year. Like, I know last year they had all this hype, blah, blah, blah. Wow, Dak Prescott, and they went 8-8. But now they got rid of that clown, Jason Garrett. He's off to the incompetent New York Giants now. They got Mike McCarthy. He runs a simple offense. I feel like that's good for Dak, and they kept the rest of the coordinators in place. The defense, it's still stacked. Think about it. Jalen Smith, they lost Byron Jones, but they got Xavier McKinney. They got all these pieces, and they got great value in the draft. They got CeeDee Lamb, so they have 3, I would say, number 1 caliber receivers in their receiving room. They have Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, who both had 1,000-yard seasons, and now they have CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott's going to do his thing. I still think he's underrated. He deserves his $35 million a year. But if he asks for more, then I don't know what to do about it.
So Philip, are you telling me that you are hopping on the We Them Boys bandwagon?
I'm just gonna say I feel like they're gonna do well this year because they got their system in place. Their offense is gonna produce numbers. If you think about it, last year, really all their games they lost were to competitive opponents, and in those games, most of them were a one possession game. So I think they went like 1-7 or like 0-8 in one possession games, like games that were determined by that. So I feel like even if they brought it up to 4-4, they would go 12-4 from last year if they went 4-4 in those games. So just think about it; those little differences could make a lot. I feel like they're going to take the leap this year.
Okay, well, switching topics besides all the contract extensions or signings.
Okay.
NFL Media Day was last week, right? So players took pictures of everything.
Yeah.
And when I was looking through the pictures of the players and everything, I don't know, I forgot about some of the signings, and it was just weird seeing some players in different jerseys that they've been so long a part of another team. So I want to ask you, Philip, which player did you feel like looks the most different or weirdest in a new uniform?
Okay. I would say Jason Witten on the Raiders. I mean, he's been a Cowboy his whole life, and he had that abysmal Monday Night Football calling thing that he had. But like, seeing him in a Raiders uniform it's just not it. Like, I grew up watching highlights on NFL.com. I remember seeing him in all the Cowboys games growing up, and all of a sudden now this year he's a 40-year-old man. He's been in the league for like 15 years. He's on the Raiders now, so it doesn't click in my brain. For
me, I gotta say it's Phillip Rivers from Chargers to Colts. He's been with the Chargers for how long now? 2003, 2004 starting, and he's always been there, and then he always plays. Like, he plays like all 16 games. The guy's got a lot of heart. And then to see him in a Colts uniform, it's just so different.
Well, Phillip Rivers, that dude has to be the unluckiest guy. At least one of the unluckiest guys in NFL history.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's really, I didn't think Jason Witten looked good at all in a Raiders uniform.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get onto the focus of the video before we run out of time here.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about the players on new teams and how they would do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I guess we can start off with Jason Witten from Cowboys to Raiders.
I feel like this was more of a depth signing.
Mm-hmm.
Veteran leadership in the locker room. That's what they need. Gruden, he described his team last year as like a bunch of a hungry young player thing. I don't know. I forgot the exact wording, but Witten's going to bring that to the tight end room. And they already have Darren Waller, who I think is so underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Former Raven, by the way, turned his entire career around. So I feel like he's not going to play a significant role. It's not going to be a day one like, oh my God, look, it's Jason Witten suddenly running a 4.340 and stretching the field. No, that's not going to happen. But it definitely doesn't hurt.
I guess, and then we can just switch over to Phillip Rivers from the Chargers to the Colts. I think the Colts needed this signing. I think they needed a veteran quarterback behind the center. And it was just because ever since Manning went down, they had Andrew Luck, who played great, but he was so injury prone. And once Andrew Luck went down, their second string wasn't really able to step in the shoes. And sure, Jacoby Brissett, I think Jacoby Brissett's all right. But Phillip Rivers, almost like Jason Witten, he brings the experience and everything. He's been in the league for so long.
Here's a question. Do you think Jacoby Brissett is starter material in the league?
I think Jacoby Brissett would have done better as a starter if he stayed with New England. If you remember that, I don't remember which season, but Tom Brady was out for a 4-game suspension, and immediately a bunch of people were like, oh my goodness, the Patriots are going to start off like 1-3 or something. They're going to dig themselves in a hole. Here comes Jimmy G coming in. He goes 2-0 before he gets injured. Jacoby Brissett comes in and he goes 1-1. And the only reason why they lost that game to the Bills was because Brissett was a running quarterback and the Bills had Tyrod Taylor, who was another running quarterback.
Yeah.
So they knew how to they knew how to contain a running quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Brissett fit better in the Patriots system.
Yeah, I mean Brissett, he's not. I wouldn't categorize him as a running quarterback. I would say he's more of a field general. He just kind of keeps the game in. He's a game manager. He doesn't do anything special.
Mm-hmm.
But I certainly think he's starter material. He can hold up in this league. He's kind of like Joe Flacco, a game manager. Nothing special, nothing bad. Plays it safe, sometimes too safe. But I do think he's starter material.
The only thing about Rivers on the Colts is like he's entering 2004, 19. Let's do some quick math here. 15, 16 season. You can see last year his arm strength is depleting. I remember Thursday night game, I think they were playing the Raiders, and he was just making a lot of mistakes because he didn't have the arm power to zip the ball anymore or go deep. So that's the only thing that's the only thing that worries me about Rivers.
Now, speaking of Rivers, I feel like he's going to bounce back this season simply because he has a better wide receiver core. He has, I think Michael Pittman, he was one of my favorite receivers coming into this draft. They got him in the second round. And they all have T.Y. Hilton coming back from injury.
Yes,
so that's going to be a huge deal. So I feel like last year, if the team stayed healthy and with this improvement, I feel like the Colts can actually do something, even though their quarterbacks, both of them are not special. I feel like they can really do something with that offense over there. And then Frank Reich, I probably just messed up his last name. He's a great play caller. Even with Jacoby Brissett and Paris Campbell on their wide receiver group, they still managed to do a serviceable job. So. All right, so I want to go into one of my favorite signings here.
All right.
One of my, I feel, underrated signings. It's going to have to Todd Gurley to the Jaguars. What the hell did I just say?
Jaguars. What?
Todd Gurley to the Falcons. I mean, they're both in the South, but Todd Gurley to the Falcons. How do you feel about that?
I think you said one of your favorite signings.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite signings, but I
Okay.
think
Okay.
I
Okay.
think
Okay, young sir. Okay. You better have a good fucking reason why.
I do think though it is. I think Todd Gurley is needed to be on the Falcons. It's because Dante Freeman, he's no longer there. And he hasn't been up to par from this season where they went to the Super Bowl. And yeah, sure, I remember I dissed him a little bit in our last episode about he wasn't running too well. But who knows? Maybe he can have a bounce back season. He's performed in the past. He's a good runner. He's a smart player. I think was it Todd Gurley that one game where instead of it was some Rams running back, I think it might have been Gurley, where he was running right, broke through the defense for sure, right, clear day, no one, not even one man to beat, and then instead of going in for the touchdown to get the points and everything, he slid down.
Yeah,
because they already had the game in the bag.
He's a very smart player. Now I think Mr. 24-year-old arthritis in his knee is gonna really do well with the Falcons. Now I don't like the Falcons coaching staff at all, but I feel like Todd Gurley, since he's healthy now, I feel like he has a chip on his shoulder. He kind of has that extra motivation to push his game to the next step. Even if he's not 100% healthy, I feel like he's going to push himself to the point where he's going to have a significant impact on that offense. And I looked at analytics from last year. Devontae Freeman, the former Falcons running back, he was abysmal last year. He was trash.
Yeah, he really was going downhill. He had great stellar season, and then he just started like on a roller coaster. You're at the peak, and now you're coming down.
No, but like Devontae Freeman it was hard to watch because I think the analytics said that the offensive line, the expected yards per carry was like 4 point something. He went under the expected yards per carry by like half a yard. So the dude was not finding the gaps. I feel like Todd Gurley can really fill that hole in the Falcons offense. Now, what's one of your like wow free agent signings in your opinion?
My wow free agent signings?
Yes, your wow.
I guess I'm not giving my favorite right now, but one of the ones that surprised me was the Marcus Mariota signing from the Titans to the Raiders. I thought Derek Carr didn't do too bad 2 seasons prior. Now, he had a rough patch going last season. But I guess I want to ask you, who do you think should get the starting position over there in Oakland? Now, who should be passing the win? You want Mariota behind the center, or you want Carr behind the center?
Obviously, Carr. There's no question about it.
So exactly, that's what I'm saying. So I was surprised by the signing.
They're paying him $8 million a year too, which is just absurd. I don't like that signing. But you know what's a signing I don't like even more? It's not even a signing. It's a free agent move. It's Nick Foles to the Bears.
Oh yeah.
Now Ryan Pace, this man's constantly gets clowned on for picking Trubisky second overall. First of all, the 49ers absolutely fleeced the Bears in that trade. I would like to point that out. They got Trubisky second in front of Patrick Mahomes, the billion-dollar boy, and Deshaun Watson. And now look where they are. They have to go for Nick Foles, the one-hit wonder. Actually, no, two-hit wonder, because he had that one season where he had like 25 touchdowns and 1 interception with the Eagles in like 2014. But I don't like how they're taking it. Their cap space is already messed up. They signed Jimmy Graham to a trash contract. That's also one of my least favorite moves. They have 10 tight ends in that room. It's terrible. They signed Jimmy Graham to a 2-year nasty deal. They didn't get any running back help, even though their running game was poor last year. It was terrible. And then they were taking on a $7 million cap hit from a backup quarterback. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I guess, let me ask you, Phil, then, now that Foles is going to be with the Bears, who do you want starting?
I would say Trubisky.
You want Trubisky? Oh, okay.
Because Trubisky, he actually showed what he could do in a full season. In his second year, he had that Pro Bowl season. He didn't deserve that Pro Bowl, but it was not a bad season. It was like 23 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And he also ran on the ground. He had the courage to run on the ground when there was pressure. That's what got him out of all these situations. The next season, he held onto the ball too long. There was practically no run game thanks to Matt Nagy. So I feel like Trubisky could be fixed. Like, there's a way to fix him to be at least an average, above average quarterback, and he could be your long-term solution to the quarterbacking problem in Chicago. Meanwhile, Foles is 32, 31. He's aging. He has a trash contract. Even in his rookie year, he ran a 5-second 40-yard dash, so he has no mobility. He's injury prone. I just don't. It doesn't make sense to me. I feel like it was more of a panic move on Ryan Pace's part to try to not get himself fired, like a desperation shot.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you on that. I think they're hoping Foles can have one of his, maybe no longer one-hit wonder, but or you said two-hit wonder. I think they're hoping for another three-hit wonder, come back with a stellar season like he did in 2013 and then he did in 2018. But that's honestly, I feel like if someone were to sign Nick Foles, it would be the Broncos, and it's just because the Broncos have been known for signing old and experienced quarterbacks. No offense, right? They signed Peyton Manning, and he did win them a Super Bowl. And when Peyton Manning was out, Brock Osweiler didn't do great either. They signed Flacco, because he's been in the league, he's experienced. They just have that.
I think Flacco is going to his prime. I remember when John Elway said that after he traded for him.
Yeah, Elway is just known for picking older quarterbacks, more experienced ones, the ones that have been longer in the league. But so that's who I thought they would have signed. But I think the Broncos are going to go Drew Lock.
Yeah, I don't think the Broncos are going to go with anyone except for Drew Lock. He had a surprisingly nice rookie year. He's got a great arm. It's just really his decision making.
Yeah.
Drew Lock, I think, is the long-term answer for the Broncos. Actually, this leads on to just a random thought, Eric.
Yep.
If you think about it, in this upcoming draft, there's so many quarterbacks. There's Justin Field. There's Trevor Lawrence. There's Trey Lance from North Dakota. But there's not many teams that need a quarterback.
Yeah, right now, I think they've chosen to, if they have chosen to draft a quarterback, they did it this past draft, or they're just sifting around the quarterbacks that are in the league now.
The only real teams I could think that need a quarterback are the Panthers, if Teddy Two Gloves doesn't work out. The Bears, if both their overpaid, mediocre men don't do well, and then maybe the Jaguars. But other than that, there's really no other team with a need at quarterback.
Well, what would you say about the Steelers and the Giants? I mean, Big Ben, he's entering his 17th season. And let me tell you, their last season without him, and Mason Rudolph and what's the other guy, Delvin Hodges, they could not step up. They could not step up on Paxton Lynch. What? The Steelers, I think that they have to start looking. Because how many more years does Big Ben have?
He has 1 more year, 2 more years on his, 1 more year on his, what's one of those on his contract?
And then with the Giants, I mean, I'm sorry. I don't really think Daniel Jones is that good.
Really?
At least what he showed. No, yeah.
I really like Daniel Jones.
Agree to disagree, I guess. That's one of
our
agrees to disagrees.
Okay. Well, it seems like we ran out of time here. But thanks for listening to the Huddle Podcast, Episode 2. If you would like to listen to the first episode, definitely go do that. Especially if you haven't. Because we talked about the NFL Top 100, our hot takes, stuff like that. And I want to thank you guys for listening to this podcast. And again, this is Philip Zhao with Eric Ye.
See you guys.
We'll see you in the next episode week. Something like that. Next week.